just going to do the short version of the practice. We're going to do the meditation and the short version of the yoga, which I would rather do the long version, but I have to get to work, catch up on the bills. So I'm going to clean up the room here, and then we'll get started. After the meditation, I'm going to sweep, and that's part of the whole routine.
And so that is a nice little tangle. If I put this in the language of Oriental philosophy and religion, it would be something like this. The Buddha said that wisdom must come only from the abandonment of selfish craving or desire. The Buddha said that wisdom must come only from the abandonment of selfish craving or desire. One who abandons that desire attains nirvana, which is supreme peace, liberation. Nirvana means in Sanskrit, blow out. That is, exhale the breath. Exhale the breath. The opposite, desire, is to breathe in. Now, if you breathe in and hold it, you lose your breath. But if you breathe out, it comes back to you. advice, I don't know what is. Music, please.
Almost forgot to plug in all my devices. So we're gonna do the meditation on the Buddha here in a minute.
Lecture I've ever given has included my tribute to my Uncle Alex, my brother, kid brother,
And then we'll do the yoga,
who was a graduate of
short version of the Ashtanga yoga.
a distant insurance salesman in Indianapolis.
Okay.
He was childless. But what Uncle Alex found objectionable about so many human beings is that they so seldom noticed it when they were happy. And so we would be sitting under an apple tree, for instance, on a July afternoon, drinking lemonade and, talking about this and that, and practically buzzy like honeybees. And old Alex would stop everything and say, wait a minute, stop. If this isn't nice, I don't know what is. If this isn't nice, I don't know what is. I don't know what is. I don't know what is. If this isn't nice, I don't know what is. I don't know what is. I don't know what is. And so he would do that again and again, and it was very good advice, and I've taken it up. And I hope that you will take up this habit too, of noticing when things are really awfully nice. And say, is this nice? I don't know what it is. And say, is this nice? I don't know what it is. If this isn't nice, I don't know what is. I don't know what is. I don't know what is. If this isn't nice, I don't know what is. I don't know what is. I don't know what is. If this isn't nice, I don't know what is. I don't know what is. I don't know what is. If this isn't nice, I don't know what is. I don't know what is. I don't know what is.
So we'll go ahead and get started on the meditation on the Buddha. Probably do some breathing exercise after that, and then the Ashtanga Yoga primary series. Most likely the short version, because I've got to get to work. But we shall see.
We do the practices with this aspiration to be a benefit to beings, not to harm them, to benefit them. And in our understanding, the best benefit is to actually, for beings to be liberated from cyclic existence. And we aim to become Buddhas in order to help beings to be free in this way. So generate those thoughts in your own way. So Venerable Children is laid out in sadhana for us, helping us to generate these various mind states. And she starts by having us think about all of our potential, all the kind of positive qualities that we can develop. Infinite love, compassion, wisdom, skillful means. So imagine what it would feel like to be those qualities. Just let yourself be love, wisdom. Try to feel the expansiveness and peace in your heart, the wisdom that it takes to have this kind heart, to be unencumbered in any way, vast and expansive. You can take in everything that's happening in this world, reaching out to every being, human and otherwise, to benefit each one. So now imagine that these qualities of love, compassion, wisdom, skillful means appear in front of you in the form of Shakyamuni Buddha. So imagine this Buddha in front of you, in the space in front of you made of radiant, transparent light. He's sitting on a throne, above which is an open lotus flower and cushions of the sun and moon discs. This entire visualization is made of radiant, transparent light, but you're imagining a living being with a light body. So you feel yourself in the presence of the Buddha. The Buddha's body is golden in color. He wears the robes of a monastic. His right hand, with the palm down, rests on his right knee. And the earth touching mudra. And his left hand is in his lap holding a bowl of nectar. And this nectar is the medicine to cure our afflictions and all of our hindrances. And the Buddha's face is very beautiful. You can look at the Buddha's eyes. He's smiling, his eyes are smiling. He's looking at you with total acceptance. And as he looks at you, he's also encompassing all sentient beings. The Buddha's eyes are very peaceful, long and narrow. His lips are red and his earlobes are long. Imagine rays of light radiating from every pore of the Buddha's body. This golden light going out to all the parts of the universe, touching beings, carrying miniature Buddhas to help beings. And as they complete their work, they dissolve back into the Buddha. The Buddha is surrounded by the entire lineage of spiritual teachers, all the meditational deities, innumerable other Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Arhats, Dakas, Dakinis, Dharma protectors. And at the side, near each spiritual mentor, is an elegant table, and on it are Dharma books. The sounds of the Dharma fill the air. And they're all so happy that we're here doing this together. Imagine their minds just blissful and peaceful, gazing at all sentient beings. So you imagine that actually you were surrounded by all sentient beings in human form. Your mother of this life is on your left. Your father of this life is on your right. Any people you have difficulty with, you imagine in front of you, facing the Buddha, keeping them there for protection. friends are nearby, countless strangers fill the space around you. And all of us are looking to the Buddha for guidance. So first we need to cultivate a sense of refuge. We think of all the dangers of cyclic existence. Just think about how things are not secure. We run into dissatisfaction, often dukkha, often. And people, all the beings around us, all the sentient beings around us, are also in the same boat, floundering in cyclic existence. And many of them have not met any kind of teachings that will help them out of this quagmire. So we generate compassion. And now think of the wonderful qualities of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and generate this sense of confidence in them, and their ability to guide you out of all of these recurring problems. To take refuge, we need to cause this kind of concern, this kind of alarm, fear type, and also this confidence and faith, and the compassion. So it is possible, on the basis of your present life and mind, to free yourself from all of these undesirable experiences. So resolve to explore that possibility to the fullest. Feel great trust and confidence in the three jewels, and open your heart to rely upon them to guide you and others from all of these difficulties of cyclic existence, and bring us to the peace, liberation, and full awakening. So as we do these refuge verses, starting here, now we're on the top of page 21, we'll be taking refuge in the Buddha, and we imagine actually leading all of the sentient beings around us and going for refuge. And we visualize white, radiant light flowing from all of the Buddhas, the spiritual mentors, the Bodhisattvas, all of these holy beings flowing into us and all the beings around us. And this light completely purifies all of our destructive karmic imprints and afflictions. And it also brings all the realizations of the path. So put your hands in prayer position. Namo Guruvya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Guruvya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Guruvya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Guruvya, Namo Buddhaya. feel that you've come under the protection of the three jewels. And now we turn our thoughts to others and think about how much we depend on other beings for everything that we have, everything we know, everything we use, everything we enjoy. Our food, clothing, resources of every kind. These come due to the efforts of others. Our knowledge, talents, good qualities, these too are developed due to the kindness of others. And our ability to practice the Dharma certainly depends on others who brought the teachings to us over the millennia by generating realizations in their mind and teaching. So this is a very great kindness, all of these things we want to bring to mind. Our innermost wish is to be free from suffering. And this is the case for everyone else as well. We want to be happy. All beings want to be happy. And like us, they encounter many difficulties, problems, sufferings. And usually, actually, their difficulties are more so than our own. Not always, but often. And when we examine our capacity to help beings, we find that we're actually quite limited. And we know from our practice that if we can reduce our anger, our attachment, our ignorance, our various faults, and if we can increase all of our good qualities, we're really going to be in a position to benefit beings. Imagine if we had just this generous heart, gives so easily, takes delight in giving, the kind of ethics that doesn't harm, has that just ingrained fortitude, loving kindness, compassion, wisdom. We'll be in excellent position to help beings by having our good qualities developed. And if we develop them fully, like Buddha does, then we'll be able to be of the greatest benefit to beings. So we generate this altruistic intention in order to be able to benefit beings most effectively. So as we take refuge and generate bodhicitta, imagine that light is flowing into you from all of these Buddhas and holy beings. And it's flowing into you and all the sentient beings around you. So we're on the top of page 22. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by engaging in generosity and the other far-reaching practices, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by engaging in generosity and the other far-reaching practices, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by engaging in generosity and the other far-reaching practices, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. So imagine the Buddha is so pleased with your altruistic intention. And a replica emerges from the Buddha, comes to the crown of your head, melts into golden light, flows into you. Feel that you and the Buddha have become inseparable. very close to the Buddha and allow your mind to be transformed and inspired. Let go of all conceptions you have about yourself. Let go of any self-denigrating thoughts. Let go of the concept of inherent existence and meditate on emptiness. At your heart appears a small Buddha made of light. He radiates the light of wisdom and compassion in all directions throughout the entire universe. And this light transforms all sentient beings into Buddhas and all environments into pure lands, which are places where all the circumstances are conducive to practicing the Dharma and generating realizations. So imagine this. You've transformed all sentient beings into Buddhas and all environments into pure lands. In your imagination, well, why hasn't this become a reality? We sentient beings have bias, prejudice, we lack love, compassion, and joy. So now we want to wish ourselves and others to have all of these qualities. So we contemplate the four immeasurables. We do this to reinforce our own felt experience of love, compassion, joy, and equanimity for everyone. Friends, strangers, enemies, relatives, people you don't like, people you don't trust, anyone, everyone. So as we say those four immeasurables, you want to listen to yourself say the words and contemplate as you recite. We'll pause between each of the four. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free of suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings not be separated from sorrowless bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. So, in order to achieve what we've just been aspiring towards, we need to purify our negativities, and we need a lot of merit. We need to abandon things and adopt things. So when we do the 7-limb prayer, this encompasses all this abandoning and adopting of things. So we'll pause after each line. And you want to go with your hands in the prayer position for this. Reverently I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. So imagine yourself and all the beings, the sentient beings around you, making prostrations to all the holy beings in front of you in the field of merit, repeatedly prostrating. And present clouds of every type of offering, actual and mentally transformed, So imagine offering everything beautiful to the Buddha and all the holy beings. You can fill the sky with offerings. Make it very lovely and beautiful. You can think of flowers and fields and just everything that you love. Offer it to all the holy beings. You can do this repeatedly. I confess all my destructive actions accumulated since beginning this time. So now we do like a glance meditation of the four permanent powers. So for this, bring to mind something that you wish to purify, some fault or mistake. Bring it clearly to mind and generate regret for that. And then the other permanent powers are taking refuge and generating bodhicitta, which we're doing in the practice. The practice itself will be the remedial action, but make a determination not to do this action again. And rejoice in the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. So think of common sentient beings like ourselves, the holy beings, and delight and take, rejoice in all of the virtue created by any kind of being. Let go of any jealousy, envy, and just rejoice in the goodness in the world. Use your own life experience. Think of things, people that you want to rejoice. And then the next verse. Please remain until cyclic existence ends. So now we offer a double dorje. This symbolizes long life. We offer this to the holy beings. We do this requesting them to live long, to always be a part of our life. And you can do this multiple times in your imagination. And then the next verse. And turn the wheel of Dharma for sentient beings. So again, make this offering. You're offering with both hands this beautiful 1,000-spoke Dharma wheel, golden in color. Offering this to the teachers and the Buddhas to guide you and to continue to teach the Dharma. And then the seventh one. I dedicate all the virtues of myself and others to the great awakening. So now we steer these limbs toward full awakening for ourself and all beings. And now we'll offer the mandala. Here we imagine everything beautiful in the universe, offering it to all holy beings with the wish that they will continue to teach and guide us, and that we can generate realizations in our mind. This ground anointed with perfume, flowers strewn, Mount Meru, for land, sun, and moon, imagined as a Buddha land and offered to you. May all beings enjoy this pure land. The objects of attachment, aversion, and ignorance, friends, enemies, and strangers, my body, wealth, and enjoyments, I offer these without any sense of loss. Please accept them with pleasure and inspire me and others to be free from the three poisonous attitudes. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryataya. So imagine all the holy beings just delighted and they receive your offerings. And the offerings melt into light and dissolve into them. And these all absorb into the Buddha's heart. And then immediately he radiates light back to you, filling your body and mind. And this light inspires you to accomplish the path to full awakening. So in order to progress along the path, we need to develop realizations. And in order to do this, we need the inspiration of the lineage of spiritual mentors, especially your principal teacher or your root guru, who is the one who has touched your heart deeply. If you don't have a specific teacher, just think about Shakyamuni Buddha, or maybe you have a connection in your mind with His holiness. And we make this request on page 25. Glorious and precious root guru, sit upon the lotus and moon seat on my calm, guiding me with your great kindness. Bestow upon me the attainments of your body, speech, and mind. And so then, at this point, you imagine that a replica of your teacher in the aspect of the Buddha emerges from the Buddha in front of you. And it comes to sit on a lotus and moon disc on the crown of your head, facing the same direction as you. So then this Buddha on the crown of your head is going to act as an advocate for you to request inspiration from the entire field of merit as we continue the request. And we're doing the long one on page 26. Buddha, unequal teacher and guide, venerable protector Maitreya, successor, superior Sangha prophesied by Buddha, to you three Buddhas and Bodhisattvas I make request. Buddha, head of the Shakya clan, the foremost guide, peerless in expounding emptiness, Manjushri, embodiment of the Buddha's complete wisdom, exalted Nagarjuna, best of the superiors who sees the profound meaning, to you three crowning jewels of clear exposition I make request. Atisha, upholder of this great vehicle, who sees the profundity of dependent arising, Drome Rinpoche, elucidator of this good path, to these two ornaments of the world I make request. Avalokiteshvara, great treasure of Abhijna's compassion, Manjushri, masteress of flawless wisdom, Tsongkhapa, crown jewel of the snowy land sages, Losangapa, I make request at your feet. Holder of the white lotus, embodiment of all the conqueror's compassion, guide benefiting migrating beings in the land of snow mountains and beyond. Sole deity and refuge, Tenzin Gyatso, at your feet I make request. The eyes through whom the vast scriptures are seen, supreme doors for the fortunate who would cross over to spiritual freedom, illuminators whose wise means vibrate with compassion. To the entire line of spiritual mentors I make request. So imagine all of the figures in the field of merit melting into light and dissolving into the central figure of the Buddha in front of you. All the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, the Arhats, Dakas, the Kilis, Dharma protectors, all of these beings melt into light and dissolve into the central figure of Shakyamuni Buddha. And now Shakyamuni Buddha embodies the three jewels. And this Buddha absorbs into the Buddha on the crown of your head. And then as we recite the Buddha's mantra, try to let your mind be very open and receptive. Imagine this white light flowing into you from the Buddha on the crown of your head. It purifies all your negativities, all your obscurations, and it generates within you the realizations of the stages of the path. So we'll recite the Buddha's mantra together. Tayata Om Mune Mune Maha Mune Soha. 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 Now, re-establish the visualization of Shakyamuni Buddha above the crown of your head, made of golden, transparent, radiant light, a living being. And this Buddha melts into light and dissolves into you. Your body, speech, and mind become inseparable from those of the Buddha. And then we'll make the dedication prayers, starting on the page that we're on in the Sahno, which is 27. Due to this merit may we soon attain the awakened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhi mind not yet born arise and grow, May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore.
So that's the meditation on the Buddha. And next we will do the Ashtanga Yoga primary series. Just the short version because I have a lot of work to catch up on. But I've got to clean up this room a little bit before we start. I'm going to sweep the room just like we just swept our minds clean with the meditation. And I'll put on some music.
Through which you can advance this stage of consciousness, that state of consciousness, only to the degrees of. I know there are astronomers that say there was a primordial explosion, enormous bang, billions of years ago, which flung all the galaxies into space. Well, let's take that just for the sake of argument and say that was the way it happened. It's like you took a bottle of ink and you threw it at a wall. Smash, and all that ink spreads. And in the middle, it's dense, isn't it? And as it gets out on the edge, the little droplets are finer and finer and make more complicated patterns. See? So in the same way, there was a big bang in the beginning of things, and it spread. And you and I, sitting here in this room, as complicated human beings, are way, way out on the fringe of that bang. We're the complicated little patterns on the end of it. Very interesting. But so we define ourselves as being only that.
Sorry, buddy.
If you think that you are only inside your skin, you define yourself as one very complicated little curlicue, way out on the edge of that explosion, way out in space and way out in time. Billions of years ago, you were a big bang. Now you're a complicated human being. And then we cut ourselves off, like this, and don't feel that we're still the Big Bang. But you are. Started. If there was a Big Bang in the beginning, you're not something that is a result of the Big Bang. On the end of the process, you are still the process. You are the Big Bang, the original force of the universe coming on as whoever you are. See, when I meet you, I see not just what you define yourself as, Mr. So-and-so, Miss So-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so. I see every one of you as the primordial energy of the universe coming on at me in this particular way. I know I'm that too. But we've learned to define ourselves as separate from it. And so what I would call a kind of a basic problem we've got to go through first is to understand that there are no such things as things. That is to say, separate things. Or separate events. That is only a way of talking. If you can understand this, you're going to have no further problems. I once asked a group of high school students, what do you mean by a thing? And first of all, they gave me all sorts of synonyms. They said it's an object, which is simply another word for a thing. It doesn't tell you anything about what you mean by a thing. Finally, a very smart girl from Italy, who was in the group, said a thing is a noun. She was quite right. Instead of saying to you, you should be doing it another way than you're doing it, I will be saying, now find out the way you must do it, and go that way. Now this is a general principle of an art, and we will find there is a kind of limits to this art, and how it can be used. So, once the general principle is clear, there aren't many serious problems. But if you begin to look at it in that way, you will begin to realize that ecstasy, by one road or another, is inevitable. That indeed ecstasy is, in a way, the nature of existence. There is a universe for the simple reason that it's ecstatic. What else is all this fireworks? It is just like music in this ecstatic thing going on. And you have to be careful in a little way here that any initiation into a deep wisdom is act at first to demotivate. What the hell am I doing now with projects, building this up and that up and doing something to save the world and so on and so forth? Why? That's nonsense. Yeah. If you stick there, that's what they call in Mahayana the Pratyeka Buddha. That means the private Buddha, as distinct from Bodhisattva, who comes back into everyday life, as they say, for the liberation of all other sorts of beings. Because when you know that all this is all right anyway, that the situation is inevitable ecstasy, and you're going to get it one way or another, then you say, well, what was all the fuss about? Fact remains that a lot of people just don't know that. And are really hating that. Not knowing how to handle hate.
put anything in your blue water bottle?
Yeah, let's try the pre-workout and see how it does with the vitamin C.
Okay, I'm gonna put a little bit.
They're like you had an extended body and all these magnolians on the end.
So we'll start the Ashtanga Yoga primary series, the short version, and I'll open and close with the mantra. Om Vande Gurunam Charanarvinde Sambhashita Svatma Sukha Bodhe Nirshe Se Janalikai Mane Samsara Hala Hala Moha Shantiye Abharu Purusha Karam Shankasakrasi Dharinam Sahasra Shirasam Shvetam Pranamami Patanjali Om.
However, you know also, you can't really show them anything they don't already know. You won't be able to show them anything else they know. But then, the question, what shall I do, has now disappeared. It should have disappeared at the beginning. Because there wasn't anything. It was just there. Just call it this. And if you look through the going on, absolutely everything. But whatever that is what the Chinese call Tao, what Buddhists call suchness, and it's a happening. It doesn't happen to you, because where is that? You, what you call you, is part of the happening, or an aspect. That's not parts, it's not like a machine. And it's a little scary because you feel who's in control of it. Why should there be?
Thank you.
Listen, a very weird notion we have that processes require something outside them to control them. It never occurred to us that processes could be self-controlled. Even though we say to someone, control yourself. We always, in order to think about self-control, we split a person in two. So that there's a you separate from the self that's supposed to be controlled. Well, how can that achieve it? How can a noun start a verb? Yet it's a fundamental superstition that that can be done. So you have this process, which is quite spontaneous, going on. We call it life. It's controlling itself. It's aware of itself. It's aware of itself through you. so it's just like that snake, you see, that is pursuing its tail. Because the snake can't see its head, like you can't. We always find as we investigate the universe, take the microscope bigger and bigger, we will find ever more minute things. Make the telescope bigger and bigger and bigger, and the universe expands because it's running away from itself. You won't do that if you don't chase it. So, it's very simple. You only have to understand that you can't do anything about it. And as they say in Zen, you cannot take hold of it, but you can't get rid of it. And in not being able to get it, you get it. So all these trials that gurus put their students through have as their ultimate object convincing you that you can't do anything. The guru gives people exercises, A, that are difficult but can be accomplished, and B, that are impossible. You will always be hung up on the impossible ones, but the possible ones you will get a feeling of making progress, so that you will double your efforts to solve the impossible exercises. And then they range things in many, many ranks and levels through which you can advance. This state of consciousness, that state of consciousness, or even the degrees of masonry, or so on. Ranks, learning things, different belts you get in judo, and all that kind of stuff. You can do that. And it gives people the sense of competing with themselves or even with others. Because of the feeling inside that there is just something I'm missing. And of course, if you are learning any sort of skill, and you haven't perfected the skill, there is indeed something you're missing. But in this thing that we're talking about, that isn't true. Because you, as the Buddhists say, are Buddhas from the very beginning. And all that searching is like looking for your own head, but which you can't see, and therefore might conceivably imagine that you're lost. So, that indeed is the point, that we don't see what looks, and therefore we think we've lost it. And so we're in search of the self, the Atman. But that's the one thing we can't find. Because we have it. We are it. But we confuse it with all these images. something, the idea of a difference between matter and spirit. This idea doesn't work anymore. Long, long ago, physicists stopped asking the question, what is matter? They began that way. They wanted to know, what is the fundamental substance of the world? And the more they asked that question, the more they realized they couldn't answer it. Because if you're going to say what matter is, you've got to describe it in terms of behavior. That is to say, in terms of form, in terms of pattern. You tell what it does. You describe the smallest shapes of it that you can see. Atoms, electrons, protons, mesons, all sorts of sub-nuclear particles. But you never arrive at the basic stuff. Because that's there. What happens is this. Stuff is a word for the world as it looks when our eyes are out of focus. Nothing. Stuff, the idea of stuff is that it's undifferentiated as some kind of a glue. And when your eyes are not in sharp focus, everything looks fuzzy. When you get your eyes into focus, you see a form, you see a pattern. And so all that we can talk about is patterns. If there is any such thing at all as intelligence and love and beauty, well, you found it in other people. In other words, it exists in us as human beings. And as I said, if it is there in us, it is symptomatic of the scheme of things. We are as symptomatic of the scheme of things as the apples are symptomatic of the apple tree or the rose of the rose bush. The earth is not a big rock infested with living organisms any more than your skeleton is bones infested with cells. The earth is geological, yes, but this geological entity grows people, person is, describe what they do, then you find out that in making this description, you cannot confine yourself to what happens inside the skin. In other words, you can't talk about a person walking unless you start describing the floor. Because when I walk, I don't just dangle my legs in empty space. I move in relationship to a room. And so in order to describe what I'm doing when I'm walking, I have to describe the room. I have to describe the territory. So in describing my talking at the moment, I can't describe this just as a thing in itself, because I'm talking to you. And so what I'm doing at the moment is not completely described unless your being here is described also. So if that is necessary, if in other words, in order to describe my behavior, I have to describe your behavior and the behavior of the environment, it means that we've really got one system of behavior. But what I am involves what you are. I don't know who I am unless I know who you are. And you don't know who you are unless you know who I am. There was a wise rabbi once said, if I am I because you are you, and you are you because I am I, then I am not I and you are not you. In other words, we are not separate. We define each other. We're all backs and fronts to each other. You know, you can't, for example, have two sticks. You lean two sticks against each other and they stand up because they support each other. Take one away and the other falls. They interdepend. And so in exactly that way, we and our environment, and all of us and each other are interdependent systems. We know who we are in terms of other people. We all lump together. And this is, again and again, the serious scientific description of how things happen. And any good scientist knows, therefore, that what you call the external world is as much you as your own body. Your skin doesn't separate you from the world, it's a bridge through which the external world flows into you, and you flow into it. Just, for example, as a whirlpool in water, you could say because you have a skin, you have a definite shape, you have a definite form, right? Here is a flow of water, and it suddenly does a whirlpool. And it goes on. The whirlpool is a definite form, but no water stays put in it. The whirlpool is something the stream is doing. And exactly the same way, the whole universe is doing each one of us. And I see you today, and I recognize you tomorrow, just as I would recognize a whirlpool in the stream. I'd say, oh yes, I've seen that whirlpool before. It's just near so-and-so's house on the end of the river. It's always there. So in the same way, when I meet you tomorrow, I recognize you, you're the same whirlpool you were yesterday. But you're moving. The whole world is moving through you. All the cosmic rays, all the food you're eating, the stream of steaks and milk and eggs and everything is just flowing right through you. And you're wiggling the same way. The world is wiggling. The stream is wiggling you. That's the problem. haven't been taught to feel that way. What do I want? The answer is I don't know. When Bodhidharma was asked, who are you? Which is another form of the same question. He said, I don't know. Planting flowers to which the butterflies come. Bodhidharma says, I know not. I don't know. When you don't know what you want, you reach the state of desire. When you really don't know. You see, there's a beginning stage of not knowing and there's an ending stage of not knowing. In the beginning stage, you don't know what you want because you haven't thought about it. Or you've only thought superficially. Then when somebody forces you to think about it and go through and say, yeah, I think I like this, I think I like that, I think I like the other. That's the middle stage. Then you get beyond that. Say, is that what I really want? At the end you say, no, I don't think that's it. I might be satisfied with it for a while and I wouldn't turn my nose up at it. But it's not really what I want. Why don't you really know what you want? Two reasons that you don't really know what you want. Number one, you have it. Number two, you don't know yourself. Because you never can. The Godhead is never an object of its own knowledge. Just as a knife doesn't cut itself, fire doesn't burn itself, light doesn't illumine itself. It's always an endless mystery to itself. I don't know. And this I don't know, uttered in the infinite interior of the spirit. This I don't know is the same thing as I love, I let go, I don't try to force or control. It's the same thing as humility. And so the Upanishads say, if you think that you understand Brahman, you do not understand. You have yet to be instructed further. If you know that you do not understand, then you truly understand. For the Brahman is unknown to those who know it, and known to those who know it not. And the principle is that any time you, as it were, voluntarily let up control, in other words, cease to cling to yourself, you have an access of power. Because you're wasting energy all the time in self-defense. Trying to manage things, trying to force things to conform to your will. The moment you stop doing that, that wasted energy is available. say, I don't have the courage to give it away. I'm afraid. You can only overcome that by realizing you better give it away because there's no way holding on. The meaning of the fact, you see, that everything is dissolving constantly, that we're all falling apart, we're all in a process of constant death, and that the world we hope men set their hearts upon turns ashes or it prospers like snow upon the desert's dusty face, sliding a little hour into prison dawn, all that Omar Khayyam jazz. The cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, the great globe itself, all which is a image will dissolve like this insubstantial pleasure fades backward, all falling apart. Everything is. That's the great assistance. See, that fact that everything is in decay is your help. That is allowing you that you don't have to let go because there's nothing to hold on to. It's achieved for you, in other words, by the process of nature. So once you see that you just don't have a prayer, it's all washed up, and that you will vanish and leave not a rack behind, and you rarely get with that, suddenly you find you have the power. This enormous access to that. Ever do momentarily slip into some sort of mystical experience, you become aware of this tremendous gamesmanship going on. If you see it as sort of continuous with all sorts of cosmic games that are going on, of creatures eating other creatures up, and the creatures that get eaten, of course, transform themselves into the creatures that eat them, and then in turn eat other creatures. And you see the whole hide-and-seek game going on, and then you realize very clearly that the state of development that you are in now is no better and no worse than anybody else's state. Because it's like space again. Which planet is in, or which star is in the best position? Well, it's all equal. Any point on a sphere is the center of the surface of the sphere. So, you know, in the same way, everybody, in all his behavior, whatever he's doing, whether we call him from a certain point of view sick, or whether we call him healthy, whether we call him good or bad, neurotic, normal, psychotic, sane, all the manifestations are just like the leaves on the trees. And in each being in a unique way is, as Christians would say, manifesting the will of God. So, really, from that point of view, there is nothing to do to attain Buddha. Nothing at all. But you see, that's very difficult to understand, because a lot of people, when they hear that there's nothing to do, try to do nothing. And you can't. Because you are karma, and karma means action. You can't do nothing. But the thing you're looking for, or think you're looking for, is what you're doing. Is what's called you.
So I'll close with the closing Ashtanga Yoga mantra. Om Swasti Prajabhya Palipalayantam Nayena Margena Mahimahisha Go Brahmanebhya Palipala Shubhamatsu Nityam Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So this is the very short version of the daily routine. We did meditation on the Buddha and the short version of the Ashtanga Yoga primary series. And now I've got to go because I have to catch up on a lot of work so that I can pay the bills. If you'd like to see more, help me pay the bills. I've got PayPal and Cash App and stuff I'll put in the description. But please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll be back tomorrow for the meditation and yoga. As soon as I've paid the rent, I will be doing more exercise, more demonstrations for the full Ashtanga Yoga primary series and martial arts routine in the format of high intensity interval training. So thank you for watching. Have a good one.